Festwochen Podcast mit Clarissa Stadler und Nada El-Azar. Die Wiener Festwochen danken ihren Hauptsponsoren Erste Bank und Wiener Städtische.
Hello and welcome to the Wiener Festwochen podcast. My name is Nada El-Azar and today I am joined by Kate Valk, the founding member of the legendary Wooster Group from New York. Kate is joining us via Zoom today from New York, and they will be back in Vienna for the first time since 1997 with the world premiere of Bertolt Brecht's The Mother. Kate, how does it feel to be back?
Well, we're not back yet. I mean, I can't wait to get back. We're still have another week and a half in New York, and everyone's very excited to come to Vienna. Some of us for the first time since 97?
97,
yeah. I think it was The Hairy Ape. We were there with Eugene O'Neill's The Hairy Ape, our production of Eugene O'Neill's The Hairy Ape. And I'm really looking forward to performing our new show, our brand new show that we've been working on all through the pandemic. And to perform it in front of an audience is going to be thrilling. And to be back in Vienna. Yeah. The Viennese audience was always very supportive of our work. When we were there with The Hairy Ape in 97, it wasn't the first time. We had done... I think we were coming to Vienna nearly every 2 years. The festival was one of our major sponsors in Europe for definitely through the 90s.
So what are your memories of Vienna? Have you been here in the meantime, or is it really going to be the first time since 97 that you're going to be back?
Well, I was there once by myself when I was participating as a performer with Meg Stewart in one of her crash landings, her improvisational events. And I was also in Vienna years ago. I made a movie in Vienna with Peter Illich-Huemer, who is, I think, working in film and TV now there. I did a movie called Dead Flowers. So I have a history with Vienna, even beyond the Wooster Group. So I have a lot of great memories of how beautiful Vienna is, how a very different style of living than New York, needless to say, and just how close the country is, the nature is closer surrounded. That was very surprising to me, because the metropolis, the sprawl of New York City and to New Jersey and to Pennsylvania is much greater.
Finally, you're going to be on stage with Bertolt Brecht's The Mother. So this world premiere was supposed to be on stage last year in 2020, and then it got postponed due to the pandemic. And you're going to play the main character, Pelageya Nilovna, which is a working class mother that goes on a journey from an illiterate woman to a revolutionary. So can you tell me a little bit more about her character and how you prepared for it?
Yes, because it's very interesting the way we worked on the production. I don't feel like I worked on myself psychologically like an actress to inhabit the role of the mother. I feel like the way the Wooster Group works, we're all working together on the whole production. So the first phase of our work together, everybody's in the room. We're a group. So the technical artists, the performers, Elizabeth Lecomte, the director, we're all in the room together. And the first order of business, of course, was the translation. And we did that together. One member of our company who actually didn't end up being in the production, but Scott Shepard did a simple translation from the German to English. He speaks German, but he used all sorts of other translations, and of course all the translation
So you had to go
apps.
over it really word by word, really.
Oh, yes, because we had to make it sound like us. We had to make it sound like the way we speak. So it's not just translating into English, it's translating it into American and translating it into what it means for us, or finding out what it's that huge chasm between the two languages. And so we all read the Gorky novel. We watched a production with Helena Weigel in it, the one that Brecht had directed, and that was done here in New York in the 50s. And so we went to any archival recording or film or video. We watched other productions of the Mother. We love to immerse ourselves in a long R&D period. And so we also knew for our modern audiences, we would have to shorten the play a little bit. 3 hours, modern audiences in 90 minutes. And also the play has, 26 characters in it, has so many characters. And of course, we don't have that many performers in our company, and we can't afford to have that many. And not only that, the pandemic, we had to let a couple people go, so there were fewer people in the room. So there are only 5 performers. Now, that being said, I feel like we all created the Mother. We all, it's a funny thing, and I'm going to jump right to saying, I think from what I understand, from what we've read about Brecht's theory about performing and acting, is that you bring your whole life as a person when you step on stage. There's no hiding when you step on stage, and you can tell everything about somebody. And so as a performer, you bring your whole humanity, your whole history, your whole psychology, who you are, is what steps on stage. And then you say the lines written by the author, and somewhere between the two, the character is created.
So the experience working during the pandemic and even experiencing such a crisis, how did it affect your, way of working in the play? Because you said you bring in all your experiences. So what's the experience with this crisis?
Quite pragmatically, and we work very pragmatically. We knew we could only have about 10 people in the room. So we had, with Liz, the director, and 4 technical artists on the outside, we knew we could have 5 performers. And we began, of course, working with physical distancing. So we had to give up all the blocking we had worked on before the pandemic. And there was a lot of grouping and being close to each other. So we had to let go of that. And we were, unless you were center stage, we, of course, had to be masked at first. And we had to work shorter days with longer breaks so we could air out the room. So that changed it. So, of course, right away, the distancing made our blocking different. And then as we grew into what we were able to do, and we discovered that we would work character by character. So we started recording each individual person, and then the sound artist, Eric Sluter, mixed the scenes together. And then we started lip syncing, so there would be no spitting actors. And there was something quite wonderful that happened. And through this process of recording, editing together, mixing with the music, going back and changing a sentence for tone or meaning, or changing the word if it wasn't clear. We developed this process of recording, and it became very layered. And the task of lip syncing became extremely pleasurable, because it allowed us to have the text almost as a mask. The text also out there in front of us. And so there was that wonderful thing that happens, that alienation that happens when somebody's lip syncing. And of course it's not easy. You can get better and better and better at it. And we were working with also a lot of 1930s gangster films. Our director, Elizabeth Lecomte, loves the movie channel, Turner Classic Movies, and she watches a lot of movies on the television at home. And then she gets very excited about one gangster movie or another, and then we would watch it and channel that for style, and then say the Brecht lines in the style of these films, which from what we've read, Brecht loved very much the American gangster movie.
I just have one question about the lip syncing. So you recorded yourselves and were kind of like lip syncing to yourselves on stage. And will you use the same recordings for each performance?
Absolutely, they have been. This is the soundtrack we've developed. It took us a long time to develop, and it's quite layered and has many different textures in it. So the recordings are from various times, and yes, it's the songs are live, and the Jim Fletcher, who plays the teacher, also is the live interlocutor with the audience. So he's the person that comes out and talks to the audience and talks about the play before we do it. And he also, it's a teaching play, remember, a learning play.
Yeah.
So we have somebody... A Lehrstück. So we have Jim Fletcher out front talking to the audience about the play, and he served as... we all work as dramaturgs. We're all in on all the research, and different people bring different things in, but he was the main person reading, because he has a passion for that kind of reading, and reading about Brecht and his biography.
So a little backstory to the play. The Mother was actually Bertolt Brecht's last premiere in 1932, before the Nazis seized power. And then in 1935, it was adapted for the stage with the Theatre Union of New York. So that's kind of the connection between Bertolt Brecht and New York. Can you tell me how and why you picked up this specific material with the Wooster group now?
Why did we pick the Mother? Well, Liz Lecomte picked it, Elizabeth Lecomte. Together, I was with her at dinner, and we were on tour in upstate New York, and it was a very bleak night, and we were talking about what are we going to do next, and we had to apply for a grant, and Liz said, wait a minute. We're women of a certain age, and we like to feel ourselves in the story, whether it's the main narrative or the sub-narrative. It's always going to be about the woman. And so Liz remembered, she was like, Brecht. We've never done Brecht. Didn't he do a play called The Mother that had his wife in it? And we looked it up online, and we started reading about it, and we got very excited. And that's how we picked it. It was completely intuitive.
Do you always pick your plays like this? Is it just like someone from the group is like coming up, I saw this, why don't we pick it up?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Or some presenter will say, we'll give you so many $1,000 if you do Flaubert's The Temptation of St. Anthony. And then we say, yes, of course. And then we say, what are we going to do with this? So if somebody commissions us, that happened with when we did an homage to Tadeusz Kantor with a pink chair in place of a fake antique, which was based on I Shall Never Return, a film of I Shall Never Return, and our relationship with his daughter, who became the co-director or associate director on it, or dramaturg. She, I think, is her credit. But that was a commission too. So if it happens that way, either through commission or somebody in the company says, "Oh, I really want to do this."
Yeah, and that you come here and do it with for the Wiener Festwochen. How did this cooperation come along?
Christoph.
He asked you.
Yes, he's a great friend of ours from Brussels. He's presented us before at the Kai Theatre.
I see. Very interesting.
Very supportive of our work.
So when the premiere last year got cancelled, what did you do in between? Did you just like stop working on it, or do you think that in the end, having had another year to work on it, changed it into a completely new thing and really did it, like change it for the better? Oh,
the staging, yes, and the strategy of the recording and the lip syncing, yes. And the music, we had more time to score the whole thing to music, because the original music from Hans Eisler is there, but composer Amir El-Safar, he wrote new music over top of it, and music that, the whole thing is scored to music. The Brecht play has the original songs by Hans Eisler. And we worked with composer Amir El-Safar, and he did original music, or new music, that goes over top of the Eisler, but also is the bed for all the scenes.
How was the scene in New York doing, the theater scene, during the pandemic? Because like here it was very difficult for especially like freelance actors to, survive during the pandemic, and there wasn't like much, like there was help financially by the state, but not too much.
Well, we're very fortunate that we have the performing garage. So, of course, at the beginning of the pandemic, we had to close down until we could figure out a way to operate safely. But when we came back to work on the piece full time, the main thing is we're so fortunate that we have the performing garage. Mm-hmm. Our small 100-seat theater in Soho, in New York City, in Manhattan, and we own it as part of an artist co-op. So to be able to come here every day and work was, it was just incredible. So grateful that we were able to do that, because
not everyone has options like this.
Right. And of course we couldn't perform. And of course I mentioned earlier the changes we had to make, but none of the venues were open in New York, and they're just, most places aren't even really open. I mean, the big theaters, I think, are going to open. The big commercial theaters will open in September. I don't think we'll perform here at the garage until October. When we get back, we have another tour in September. So, it's, a lot of people did online events. A lot of people in the smaller theater companies made their archival work available online. But
It's not the same thing.
I know. Somebody interviewed me, and they said, "Are people going to need are people going to want to go to a small theater anytime in the near future?" And I'm like, gee, that's a good question. We'll find out. But we don't have the same kind of support from the state. So I imagine, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see who's still standing and who comes back with work in the fall.
So what is really interesting, you have, like, the Wooster Group is still in the same garage as it was from the very beginning on.
Yes. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to work the way we do. We don't pay rent to a landlord. We pay maintenance to an artist co-op with 3 residential loft buildings that originally had artists, painters for the most part.
So that's really fascinating that it's so rooted where it very, like, to its very beginnings. And also you, I mean, I believe you were just a young student when you joined the group, and you have been appearing in, I think, every performance.
Almost, yeah. I think almost all but one, yeah.
So can you imagine having done anything else than that? Like coming out from acting school and then joining this group and sticking with it?
When I was 21 and I saw the work of the Wooster Group, Elizabeth Lecomp's work, it was incredible. It was the best thing I'd ever seen. So I had no question of what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with this company. So I started making things for Liz. What I liked about the Wooster Group is that it was a group. It was a group of people and everybody did everything. And without having a name for it, now I would call it communitarian anarchism. But I didn't know that at the time. At the time, it was just the most exciting work I had seen, and I wanted to be a part of it because there were no divisions. Everybody worked on everything. I mean, there was definitely, Liz was the director on the outside and the visionary, but it was the most exciting room I had been in the New York performance world.
Mm-hmm. So you always knew that you wanted to be an actress, and you wouldn't have done anything else.
I didn't know I always wanted to be an actress. I knew I always wanted to be an artist. Mm-hmm. I knew I wanted to make things, and I knew that I didn't have the ego to be an actress. I did go to acting school, but I thought, well, I had a great time, a fabulous time at school, but I sure don't want to be an actor because I have to go out and audition and try and get work. I just needed a place to go every day to make things. So when I saw the work of the Wooster Group and I met Liz and she said to me, "What can you do?" I said, "Well, I can sew."
Mm-hmm. So you started there as a seamstress?
I started, not even that specific. I started as assisting her on making things and shopping for props and transcribing tapes and, taking care of the record album collection. And I moved in upstairs at the garage until I could get paid. It was a very different time in New York, as you can well imagine. Time is different. Time is different now than it was then, and time was so different during the pandemic. I think time is the thing that changes the most. But people don't change. Yeah. People still have the same desires and passion, and it's time that changes.
That's true. So when can we welcome you in Vienna?
May 29th.
May 29th.
And then we'll have to quarantine for 5 days.
My guest today was Kate Valk. She is going to come to Vienna with the Wooster Group to perform Bertolt Brecht's The Mother. It's going to be a world premiere. And thank you, Kate, for your time and this very interesting conversation.
Well, thank you very much. Nada. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and look forward to seeing you in Vienna.
Yeah, me definitely too. So have a nice rest of the rehearsal, and I wish you the best for the premiere that is going to be on the 8th of June in Halle G im Museumsquartier. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Das war der Festwochen-Podcast. Wir verabschieden uns aus dem Studio Wunderbar. Die Signation stammt von Ursula Winterauer. Danke fürs Zuhören und bis zum nächsten Mal.